A feeling we all experience. Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about an emotion that we all have experienced at some point, that is regret. It could be a moment in the past, or something you didn't do that you can never change. But why does regret hurt us so much? What is regret? It's those unanswered questions, those moments that have passed but still haunt us. Whether we want it or not, regret is an inseparable part of all our lives. Part 1. The types of regret we often encounter. Regret can come from many things, and perhaps each of us has felt it at least once in our lives. But have you ever wondered, how many different kinds of regret can we experience in life? First, we may regret things we have done. Those wrong decisions we can never take back. The words spoken thoughtlessly, the hasty actions. All of these leave marks, and in quiet moments, they come back to haunt us. Surely you've experienced this feeling, looking back and asking yourself, why did I do that? Could I have done it differently? 1.1 Regret over wrong decisions. Wrong decisions are one of the main causes of regret. We choose the wrong path, or we don't act decisively enough to achieve what we want. It could be the decision to quit a job when you weren't ready, or to pass up a career opportunity because of fear of failure. You've likely had those moments, when you know that if you hadn't made that choice, life would have been different. But sometimes, fear outweighs confidence, and you don't take action. And when you look back, those opportunities slip away, and all you can do is ask, did I make the right choice? 1.2 Regret over things left unsaid or undone. But regret doesn't just come from wrong decisions, it can also come from things you didn't do. Perhaps those words left unsaid, the dreams never pursued. Maybe you didn't express your love to someone important, or didn't try for that dream job out of fear of rejection. Sometimes, what you regret most isn't the things you did wrong, but the things you didn't dare to do. The opportunities missed because of fear and hesitation. And then, you realize those were the moments that could have changed your life, but now they're gone. 1.3 Regret over lost relationships. Regret also comes from lost relationships, people you once loved, people you were once close to, but for some reason, you let them go. It might be an unspoken love, or a friendship you neglected because you didn't understand each other. Have you ever regretted not apologizing in time, or for not trying harder to keep that relationship? There are relationships we lose not because there was no love, but because we failed to value them at the right moment. And that's when regret floods in. 1.4 Regret over things beyond our control. Not all regrets come from our own shortcomings. Sometimes, regret is simply the acceptance that there are things in life we cannot control, like health, family circumstances, or events beyond our reach. And there's nothing you can do except accept that you cannot change them. There are things you can't change, no matter how hard you try. But the important thing is, don't let that helplessness make you feel guilty. Learn to accept it and move forward, rather than allowing regret to dominate your entire life. Conclusion Part 1. Regret is a part of life. So where does regret come from? It comes from wrong decisions, from things left undone, from lost relationships, and from things beyond our control. But no matter the reason, regret is an inseparable part of life. What matters is how we face it, accept it, and learn from each moment of regret. Don't let regret hold you back. Let it be the motivation to make you stronger, wiser, and more confident as you move forward. Part 2. The lessons behind the painful feeling. Indeed, regret brings a discomforting feeling, a pain that sometimes we just want to forget. But have you ever wondered, can regret teach us something? Regret can be a harsh teacher, but it can also be an opportunity for us to reflect, learn, and grow. Regret is not just a negative emotion. It is not a sign of failure or weakness. In fact, regret can be a valuable lesson that helps you become a better version of yourself. But to do that, you need to face it and realize that behind that pain lies an opportunity for change. 2.1 Regret as the key to self-awareness. We all know that self-awareness is an important factor in personal growth. But often, we can't truly understand ourselves until we face regret. Regret forces us to look back on our actions, reflect on past decisions, and think about how they have impacted our lives. One thing that regret offers us is the ability to reassess ourselves, the values we pursue, and the decisions we make. It is like a mirror reflecting back at you, helping you recognize your weaknesses as well as the beautiful things within you. 2.2 Regret as an opportunity for personal growth. Regret is not only an opportunity for self-awareness, but also for growth. When you realize you were wrong, when you feel regret over things you didn't do, that becomes the motivation to act better in the future. This feeling drives you to correct mistakes and continuously improve yourself. Regret can be a powerful motivator for change. We can use it to refresh our goals, change habits, and adjust our way of living to align better with what we truly want. This feeling doesn't mean you've failed, rather, it means you're finding a better path for yourself. 2.3 Regret as a stepping stone to making wiser decisions. One of the most important things regret can teach us is how to make better decisions in the future. When you've experienced regret from a wrong decision, you'll be more cautious when choosing your next path. You'll ask yourself, if I choose to do this, will I regret it again? Regret is a measure of maturity in the way we make decisions. Each time you feel regret, you learn how to evaluate situations more clearly and avoid rushing into decisions. Regret not only helps you recognize your mistakes, but also helps you change your approach for the future. 2.4 Regret and forgiveness. Don't be too hard on yourself. Finally, regret also teaches us about forgiveness, not just for others, but for ourselves. Sometimes, we are too hard on ourselves, blaming ourselves for mistakes in the past. But remember, we are only human, and no one is perfect. Let regret serve as a reminder that you can do better, but don't let it weigh you down. Forgiving yourself is not about accepting the mistake, but about learning from it and continuing to move forward. Conclusion Part 2: Regret as a tool for growth. So, regret is not just a negative emotion. Yes, it hurts, but within that pain, there are invaluable lessons. Regret helps us become self-aware, it allows us to grow, and it guides us to make wiser decisions in the future. And most importantly, regret teaches us that we can change. We can learn from the past to build a better future. Part 3: How to face regret. Surely, each of us has experienced at least one moment of regret in life. But have you ever wondered, how can we face regret in a healthy way and not let it control our lives? How can we avoid getting stuck in this painful feeling and instead use it to come out stronger? Regret is an unavoidable feeling, but what matters is not the feeling itself, but how we deal with it. So, how do we prevent regret from taking over us? How can we overcome it and live a more positive life? 3.1 Accepting regret as part of life. The first step in facing regret is accepting that it is an inseparable part of life. We will all have moments where we make wrong decisions or miss opportunities. But these are valuable lessons, and no one is perfect. Accepting regret doesn't mean blaming yourself or living in guilt. It is the first step toward learning how to forgive yourself. And once you do that, you will realize that regret is not something to avoid, but rather a natural part of growing up. 3.2 Seek the lesson in regret. The second thing to do when facing regret is to find the lesson in those moments. Every time you feel regret about something, pause and ask yourself, what did I learn from this? If I could go back, what would I do differently? We cannot change the past, but we can change how we view it. Regret will become a source of motivation if you learn to extract lessons from it and use it to grow. Every mistake, every wrong decision, can teach you something valuable, helping you avoid repeating the same mistakes in the future. 3.3 Use regret as a motivation to move forward. Regret is not just a negative feeling. If you know how to handle it, it can become the motivation to elevate yourself to new heights. When you regret a missed opportunity, it can drive you to act more decisively next time. Let regretful moments fuel your future efforts. Don't let it become a burden, but instead use it as a source of energy to focus on what you can do in the present and future. The next step is always ahead of you, and regret is just a sign to remind you to take action. 3.4 Focus on the present and future. Finally, to face regret, you must learn how to focus on the present and future. While regret is a part of the past, it has no power over your future. Don't let it dominate your mind and stop you from living a fulfilling life. We can only change the present. Invest in what you can control: relationships, work, health, and the things that bring you happiness. Regret cannot go back and change the past, but you have the power to change yourself and your life in the present. Conclusion Part 3: Creating a new future from regret. So, how do you face regret? Accept it as part of life, find the lesson in it, use it as motivation to move forward, and focus on the present and future. Regret is not something that will hold you back. It is a tool to help you step out stronger. Part 4: From Regret to Action: How to Transform Regret into Positive Change. We've just talked about the feeling of regret, how to face it, and learn from it. But the most important question remains: how can we transform regret into action? How can we not only feel regret but actually turn those feelings into useful actions that create positive change in our lives? Regret is not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. It can be a sign that you have recognized something important, and now it's time to act. So, how do you turn this feeling into actual change? The answer lies in moving from thought to action. For point 1, identify what you can change. The first step in dealing with regret is identifying clearly what you can change. Regret often stems from things we didn't do, missed opportunities, or poor choices in the past. But instead of dwelling on the past, you need to focus on what you can change right now. Don't let what can't be changed discourage you. Focus only on what you can change in the present, the concrete steps you can take right now. Once you identify those, regret will no longer be a burden, but a motivation for you to make a change. 4.2 Create a specific action plan. Just feeling regret is not enough, you need to create a specific action plan. Regret becomes meaningless if you don't turn it into tangible steps. The key is to make a detailed and clear plan about what you want to change so that each step you take has a clear goal. This could be planning a new habit, seeking new learning opportunities, or even reconnecting with relationships that were neglected. Break the plan into smaller, specific steps, so each action brings you closer to the change you desire. 4.3 Take small steps towards your goal. The next step is to take small steps towards your goal. Don't expect to change your entire life in one day. Instead, start with small but steady actions. Big changes often begin with the smallest habits. We all feel overwhelmed when faced with a large goal, but the key is to start with small tasks. Taking small steps helps you feel progress, and these small wins will fuel your motivation. 4.4 Practice persistence, never give up. Change is not always easy, and regret may sometimes make you want to give up. But remember, persistence is the key. Regret may show up many times on your journey, but if you stay persistent and don't quit, these feelings will no longer be a burden, they will become the strength to keep moving forward. Persistence is not just about doing something repeatedly, it's the determination to never give up, no matter how difficult it gets. Regret might make you feel tired, but persistence will help you push through that feeling and keep progressing. 4.5 Evaluate and adjust continuously. Finally, always evaluate and adjust your plan. Regret is not something you feel once and then forget. It's a process, and so is taking action. Regularly assessing your progress will help you recognize what's not working and allow you to adjust accordingly. Adjustment is an important part of the journey. Remember, you may not always be on the right path from the beginning. Keep adjusting until you reach your goal. And don't forget, these adjustments are proof of your growth and learning. Conclusion Part 4: Transforming Regret into Strength. So, regret is not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. Identify what you can change, create a clear action plan, take small steps, be persistent, and always adjust when necessary. When you know how to transform regret into action, you will find that every failure, every mistake, is just a stepping stone to becoming stronger and more successful. Part 5: Learning to Forgive Yourself and Others. We've explored regret, how to face it, and turn it into motivation. But there's an essential element in this process: forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness for yourself and for others. So, how can forgiveness help us heal the feelings of regret and move forward more lightly? Forgiveness is not easy, especially when you feel you've been hurt or when you regret what has already passed. But forgiveness is not just about letting others off the hook, it's an act of freeing yourself from the burden of regret. 5.1 Forgiving Yourself, the first step toward healing. Forgiving yourself is perhaps the hardest step, because many times we are too harsh on ourselves. Self-blame, feeling inadequate, or undeserving, these are feelings that regret often brings. But did you know? Forgiving yourself does not mean forgetting your mistakes, but acknowledging that you were wrong and that you deserve to start fresh. Forgiving yourself is the first step toward healing. You can't move forward if you keep fighting with yourself. When you forgive yourself, you are no longer trapped in the past, but are free to change and grow. 5.2 Embrace imperfection. We often have overly high expectations of ourselves, and when we fall short, regret easily arises. But the truth is, we are not perfect. Everyone makes mistakes and experiences failures. The important thing is that instead of trapping ourselves in an unreachable state of perfection, we learn to embrace our own imperfections and the imperfections of life. Embracing imperfection is a crucial step in forgiving yourself. It helps you understand that mistakes are part of the journey of learning and growth. And no one in this world is perfect, even those you admire. 5.3 Forgiving Others, Freeing Yourself. Forgiving others is just as important. When you hold on to anger and resentment, you don't just hurt them, you hurt yourself as well. Forgiving others doesn't mean you have to forget what they did, but rather, it means loosening your heart and freeing yourself from those negative emotions. Forgiving others is an act of compassion and maturity. When you let go of resentment, you'll feel lighter because forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, more than it is for the other person. 5.4 Forgiveness is the path to freedom. Forgiveness not only helps you feel lighter, but it also helps you move forward freely. When you forgive yourself and others, you are no longer imprisoned by the past. You can begin again, with the lessons you've learned and an open heart. Forgiveness is the path to freedom. When you forgive, you not only free others, but you free yourself as well. You allow yourself to live a new life, no longer weighed down by guilt or resentment. 5.5 Forgiveness is a continuous process. Forgiveness is not a one-time act, it's a continuous process. There may be times when you feel anger or sorrow about something that happened. But each time you notice those feelings, you can return to forgiveness, not just for others, but also for yourself. We need patience in the process of forgiveness. Each step is an opportunity to learn, grow, and become closer to inner peace. Forgiveness will not only heal you but also help you build better relationships with those around you. Conclusion Part 5: Forgiveness is the key to living freely and happily. Forgiveness is not easy, but it is the key to living freely and happily. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and you will find that your life becomes lighter and more meaningful. Forgiveness is the most important step in the healing and growth journey. Start now, and you'll see that true freedom and happiness are in your hands. So, we've explored the journey of regret, forgiveness, and how to turn these emotions into motivation for change. Remember, regret is just a part of life. We can't change the past, but we always have the power to change the future. And more importantly, you can choose how to live each day fully, without being trapped by negative emotions. If this video has brought you new insights or motivation to change, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any other interesting content. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to start over. And finally, always remember, change starts with you. Live strongly, love deeply, and never give up on yourself. See you in the next videos. Wishing you a journey full of hope and meaning.